Well, it's a pleasure to catch up with you in Brisbane, of all places. Finally, we meet.
Yes, finally, yeah.
Finally, Bill Chronopoulos from the Delphi Bank here in Brisbane South.
Just Brisbane.
Just Brisbane.
Yes.
Not too far from St. Lucia, beautiful part of Brisbane, Queensland, where Obama came to visit the university.
The only university that Obama visited at his last visit was St. Lucia, and they had to take down the speed bumps because the limo couldn't slow down.
Wow, and it's a beautiful university because we've got the river that runs there, a lot of bushland, a lot of trees.
The oldest university as well.
Ah, well there you go.
Yeah.
Now Bill, you have an extraordinary, unique story,
I do.
background of how you came to work for the Delphi Bank.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people do have a lot of different stories, but I love your story. Now initially you were born here.
I was born here many years ago, Nambour, Queensland. Yeah.
Yes, and you went to Greece and stayed for 12 years.
10 years the first time and 2 years the second time. Yeah.
And what made your family come back to Australia?
It was for a better life for me, really. A higher education, more opportunities for myself, and of course for my family, my future family to come as well.
And this was something obviously your father instigated, is that right?
My late dad thought that this would be the best thing for me, although at the time I didn't really agree.
And now?
Συμφωνώ. Yeah.
Simple,
I
isn't
agree.
it?
Yeah.
Now you're a parent as well.
Yes.
So, Bill, you initially started working for the Bank of Cyprus.
Τράπεζα Κύπρου, 1997. I was a Queensland rep. We only had representative offices back then in Australia. And I headed the representative office here in Brisbane, in West End, just down the road from where we are now, from 97 till 2001.
Now, prior to you going to the bank though, you were at the Glasshouse Mountains. Now, I just visited the Glasshouse Mountains, a beautiful spot here in Queensland in the Sunshine Coast. So, hey, look, with the coronavirus and what's been happening around the world, people don't really need to leave Australia.
No.
They can take precautions and fly interstate.
Of course.
But take precautions, a key word there, because we have such beautiful hinterlands here.
Oh, look, Glasshouse Mountains is majestic. Although my young years I was working at a farm, so my experiences were different to where they are now when I visit, and I truly appreciate the place.
Now, this was a family business, is that right?
It was a tobacco farm, yes.
Run by your family, your parents?
My dad and mum.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about your experience as a young child at the Glasshouse Mountains and working for a family running a tobacco farm.
It was very hard work, 7 days a week, non-stop. There were no school holidays, there wasn't such a thing.
As a typical Greek family?
Yeah, of course it was. And
Δούλεψε, παιδί μου, δούλεψε.
when I wanted to buy a car, they'd told me, well, πήγαινε να βρεις δουλειά. And I'm thinking, but I am working. No, this is not your δουλειά, this is your life. And I thought, okay. Beautiful years though, beautiful. I appreciate every second of it. If I could do it all over again, I would not change a thing. It is beautiful over there, but we do have places like Montville that I'm sure that you visited
Montville
as well.
is just majestic for me.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful place here.
The people are very laid back here in Queensland, especially in the hinterlands over there. But good to see that Steve Irwin, the late Steve Irwin, I remember him as a young kid playing with us as well.
Wow.
Catching little lizards, and his dad would always be on his case, calling us all over to the little shed, which is now Australia Zoo, and he would shout us milkshakes.
Now, we drove up to see Lake Barron, but we did come across a road that took us to one of the mountains of Glasshouse Mountains, and we saw a back fence, and it had engraved different animals, and I was just wondering if that had to do with the Australian Zoo.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Spot on.
And that road used to be Old Cleveland Road, Old Gympie Road, sorry, and it's
That's
now
right.
changed to
Steve Irwin Way.
That's right.
Now, prior to you prior to you joining the Delphi Bank, you took a bit of a break out from banking, and you tried all sorts of things, including jewellery making.
Yes.
Then you went into real estate.
Yes.
So you tried everything.
I was also a diplomat for a few years. I worked for the Greek consulate.
Yes, because the Governor General.
The Consul General of Greece, Alexander Feligas, the late Alexander Feligas, called on me, and he wanted me to help him with the consulate, which I did. Then my very good friend, Mr. Jim Raptis, the consul now, I had businesses in Gold Coast, in Surfers Paradise, and he wanted me to join his team as well. And that's what brought me into real estate. Took me away from farming, took me away from banking, took me away from everything.
Including making jewellery.
Including making jewellery, which was fun. Although the hands would get black, but anyway, the outcome was good.
Now, John Raptor,
Jim
Raptors, Signomi Jim.
That's it.
Now, he's a huge developer here in Queensland.
Yes.
Now, we are currently sitting inside the Hellenic Club, or the Greek Club, here in Brisbane. And there's a bit of a story, so I'm going to veer you off from what we were talking about as how you get to Delphi Bank.
Yep.
Just stepping a little bit away from there, because we are talking about the Hellenic Club or the Greek Club here in Brisbane. Now we've got the Greek Centre in Melbourne, and that was built by the Greek community of Melbourne. Here in Brisbane, tell us a little bit about the Brisbane Greek Kinotita.
I will take you a little bit soon and I'll show you the little plaque. There's a number of about 9 people. They all got together and they thought they would buy some real estate. And they bought the place here. They built the church first, St. George. And then together, they all put together and they built the first original Hellenic club, the Greek club. Since then, it's had major renovations and to what we see it today. On the opposite side of where we're sitting is Musgrave Park. Musgrave Park is a place that we hold the panegyri. It's the largest 2-day panegyri, and sorry Melbourne, but it is the largest here.
Are you sure?
Yes, it is by fact.
The Lonza Street Antipodes Festival, that's run by the Greek Centre, apparently is the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere, Bill.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. You're
no?
wrong.
Okay,
Yes.
well, you know what? Or Kathenas with the bono too.
That's right. We're not going to hamalosme, but
Not here.
it is the largest in Australia, 3-day, really, but 2-day
Έβαλε και μια
Greek
ακόμα
festival.
μέρα να το κάνει λίγο πιο μεγάλο από το Antipodes Festival. That's all
We
right.
do start on Friday here.
Μην
you see.
ξεχάσετε από το Brisbane από πάνω από το Melbourne,
It's a beautiful panegyri that we have. Hopefully this coronavirus will not affect us too much this year because you guys just had yours, Sydney had theirs, and we're just waiting on ours for May. So hopefully that will run out well.
I hope so too.
Yeah, but no, it's been great.
And they built a huge block,
Yeah.
the Greek Kinotita εδώ
Pretty
πέρα.
much. We've got afternoon school, we've got Agoya, which is the Greek Orthodox Youth Association. We have the Greek Respite, we have a nursing home, everything.
Fantastic. So, υπάρχουν Έλληνες all around Australia.
Yes.
Όχι μόνο στο Melbourne όπως λένε.
No.
Okay,
The best
now-
was in Brisbane, by the way.
Ο καιρός ήταν λίγο καλύτερο, αλλά look, να πούμε κιόλας, ο κόσμος από την Κάλυμνο πήγανε στο Darwin.
Yes, they did.
Ο κόσμος που ήρθε στο Brisbane, από πού ήρθανε?
Mainly Rhodes
Από
Cyprus.
Cyprus, yeah.
and Peloponnese.
Well, there you go. And a lot of them from Germany went down to Adelaide, hence we've got Adelaide, which is very German orientated.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to the Delphi Bank.
Yes.
You got invited to work for the Delphi Bank.
Yes. My good friend Tom Chronopoulos approached me when I sold my business, my real estate business, and I thought I'm just going to have an early retirement.
An early retirement.
Early retirement,
Bill,
yeah, I
what
know.
Greek retires?
I know, look, I was crazy. Thinking that I could.
What Greek retires, really?
The thought was great, but you know,
Semi-retirement?
Yeah, but-
Retirement from the tax
it
department?
wasn't.
But retirement?
It wasn't going to work for me. I'm very, very pleased that Tom did approach me and he said, why don't you come back? He used to help us. He helped us back in the day. Why don't you come and help us again and see if we can work together again? And I said, I would love that.
That's
And
fantastic.
I've been there for about 2 years now, loving every minute of it.
And one of the best things that you can say that the Bank of Delphi offer, I mean, look, all the banks are working for the community, for everybody. We're not here to plug one and not plug the other.
No,
Everyone
no.
has got something to offer. But in your opinion, working for the Bank of Delphi, what's something that you can say that I love working for the Bank of Delphi because of?
It's well, believe it or not, it's the point of difference is the service that you provide. And we work at the bank, but we're also involved in the community. Michael, that you met before at the bank, he is the Vice President of the Cretan Association. Lula is heavily involved with the Cypriots. I am heavily involved with the Peloponnesians. So we're all part of the Greek associations of communities, and part of that is working with Delphi Bank. That's
See, there's
a
always a
huge
story.
difference.
There's
Huge
always a
difference.
story.
Yeah.
Now, with the crisis that's happening in Greece, and because you've spent so many years in Greece,
Yeah.
how do you feel with the refugee crisis in Greece at the moment?
It is a sad situation for everybody involved. from the Greeks in Greece, from the refugees that are trying to flee and get to a better place. My heart's break for all of them. I know that having lived in Greece for many years, it's not a country that can take on so much more. It's just at the brink of destruction themselves. They need to breathe. They haven't got the opportunity. Hopefully, this thing will settle down because it's causing other issues that shouldn't. It's not just a humanitarian issue, unfortunately, but if we see it eye to eye, Greeks love helping people. Just like we do here, like I'm sure they do in Melbourne as well, in the Greek community. They will sort something out. Greeks will always help people. That's a given.
That is a
How?
given.
That's what they need to fine tune and tweak it a bit to make it work for them. But my heart breaks for the refugees as well.
The coronavirus,
Yes.
has it affected Delphi Bank or more concerning your clientele?
Well, it has in many ways, and I can explain that to you a little bit further. Because China is the main country of many exports in Australia, as you know, most of our business people have a lot of dealings with China. So obviously, creditors, debtors, supply, demand, all gets affected. We're there for them, we support them. With this economic issue that we're having at the moment as well in Australia, we are being very supportive of them, and we are trying to help out as much as we can. It is a difficult era for a lot of people, but not an era that we can't see through. Always staying positive.
We will prevail. Everything will prevail.
Yes, we will.
Now, yesterday was International Women's Day.
Yes.
Tell me how the Delphi Bank supports women in business.
Equal rights to start with.
Your boss, Lulu. Lulu, is that right?
Lula,
Lula,
our customer service manager.
She's your boss.
She is, well,
And
she's
she's your
everybody's
boss.
She's everybody's boss, right?
And she's a female.
No. We treat obviously everybody equally, and we love having Lula, Effie, Sylvia. There's more ladies that work at Delphi Bank than men do, so maybe we should be starting to fight for our equal rights. But anyway, no, it's a beautiful day. I strongly believe in women's equal rights. I've always been a very big supporter, although sometimes I think that women are probably the superior race.
What makes you think that the superior
rather
race?
than the men. Well, they're smarter. You can multitask, we cannot.
Look, we can multitask. that old hand you can multitask. Now, to say that we're smarter, it depends what we're talking about, because I'm not going to demean men in that aspect.
Oh,
Because I
absolutely.
believe, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. Hence a great partnership when you have got two opposites that have strengths in areas that the other may not.
True.
So I'm not going to say they're smarter. Multitasking, yes.
I like how you're coming back to the multitasking.
Yeah, multitasking, I do say that.
Well, for me to let's say, for my argument, support my argument, we have an International Women's Day, but we don't have an International Men's Day, right? So.
But men are sort of, let's face it, on it all the time. Like, you rule the country, rule the world. It's about time we stepped in. And I think it's not demoralising to say there's no International Men's Day, but there is for women. I'd say, from my opinion, it's just that one day that people just talk a little bit more about gender equality and all that sort of thing.
Acknowledgement. Recognition. Yeah.
Because let's face it, we're not going to have men talking about this every day. No. But at least if we can have it once a year, and if we can make that little bit of a difference.
Well, you've got my support, put that way. So,
I like it so much. Now, and talking about International Women's Day, and my show on radio with Moss that I've had nearly 5 years, and you've been a great supporter, but not only having me on the radio and supporting me there, you've actually followed me on my social media, particularly LinkedIn.
Yes, I have.
And I want to personally thank you, and finally we've met and put a face to the name, name to the face.
Yes.
But I want to know why you have given me so much support and have followed me, and you've always given me some great feedback.
Well, put me on the spot, right? I've been involved in volunteer radio, community radio myself for a few years. What I liked about your program was the fact that you were very straightforward, you were very active, you were not just doing a program, you liked to do your research, you were pretty much involved in the topic that you were trying to present. But the most interesting part for me through your program was the fact that you would be challenging the person that you were with and yourself through the interview, and I really liked that.
Am I challenging you now, Bill?
Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Can you feel it?
I can feel it. Well, maybe soon, at some point, I'll be back on the airwaves. We'll see how we go.
I hope so.
And then we could definitely got to have you live on the radio.
I would love that.
Definitely.
Although I don't know if I've got a radio voice or not, but people
No,
say
no,
that
no, you've got a radio
so-
voice. You do have a radio voice, but hey, you know, what is a radio voice really?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
really don't
we
know.
hear so many different voices on radio. What is a radio voice?
Well, I've got an answer for you. It makes people want to listen more. And
Well,
not
is that a
switch off
voice
to go
or is it
somewhere
more
else.
personality?
I think the combination of both. But you got to have both. You can't just have the one.
Well, there you have it. Bill Chronopoulos, Delphi Bank here in Brisbane. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for having me.
Now we're going to enjoy these lovely sweets.
The Greek
From
love that
from
Costa
the-
made it.
Costa
made
made
for
it.
us.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, Κώστα.
Στην υγεία σας λοιπόν, στην υγεία σας.
Φιλιά.
Στην υγεία σου Κώστα.